Hi guys, welcome back to the Talking Rangers YouTube channel. I just want to say a massive thank you for the support again on the channel. We've just smashed 700 subscribers. Thank you to everyone who's going down there, smashing like, subscribe and hitting the bell notification icon. The season's now over, so sadly no more game related content until the season resumes again on the 12th of September. But with the season ending, it calls for one thing, a season review. A massive thank you to James Lawrence Allcott for spending the time to join me as we go over the 2019-20 season, all the ups and downs and all our take and opinions on the dramatic season that has just been concluded. Make sure you go and check out James Lawrence Allcott's YouTube channel and his Twitch. He does an amazing QPR Football Manager series that if you haven't seen already, then I don't really know what you're doing with your time. I mean, it's just ridiculous. So yeah, go check it out. Go give him a subscribe. Go follow him on Instagram, Twitter. With no further ado, let's get into reviewing the QPR 2019-20 season.
So, thank you very much for joining me, James. How are you doing at the moment?
I'm great, mate. I'm excited to be on Talking Rangers. Finally, we've got someone representing us on the YouTube scene. So anyone who's watching this for the first time, make sure you subscribe to Charlie. I'm excited to talk about QPR because actually, weirdly, I don't talk about it that much. And it's been an interesting season, hasn't it, mate? So, yeah, no, I'm pleased to be here, mate. I said to you, like, you started your channel and I said, I'll tell you what, what was it, 20, did I say? Do 20 videos and then I'll come on. Yeah. And so I've timed it perfectly because we can kind of review the season. It's going to be good. I'm looking forward to it, mate.
Yeah, no, so because I've seen your previous QPR season review, so I felt like there was nobody better to come in and get the main man and start off the first couple. So,
I haven't done it for that. I haven't done it for this season yet. But maybe I need to have a think about doing it. But I'm looking forward to it. Let's do it, man.
Yeah, let's get into it. So, if we compare how we finished from this season to the last, obviously finishing 13th on 58 points this season and 19th on 51 points. There's a 7-point increase for them as well. Obviously 6 places higher. How was your kind of overall feeling towards how we've ended the season?
Do you know what? I think as we sort of look into the summer and how we're going to be moving forward, I think there's obviously some nerves there, which I think that's a regular occurrence for QPR fans in the situation that we've had. But going into last season, I was really nervous. It was a massive turnaround of players. I was quite excited about Warburton coming in because I was aware that he was just a smart man. Yeah. But it was a big turnaround of players, and you were just sort of hoping that people could kick on. But the amount of changes that were made, they were all signings that I think generally went, yeah, okay, yeah, I get it. I can't think of. I mean, probably one of the few, and maybe we'll talk about him a bit later on. Dominic Ball was probably one of the few. I was like, who's this guy? Like, do we really need him? Yeah. But otherwise, I was quite pleased with the sort of turnaround. But the championship's pretty cruel. So going into it, I think I sort of had a little bit of Twitter banter or a disagreement, I guess, with someone who was kind of saying we should have been in the playoffs. I think that's ridiculous, in my opinion. You might think differently. Yeah. But I was like, I think mid-table was where we were kind of hoping to be. You wanted to see where the club was heading, especially with the big moves that Ferdinand and Lee Hoos had made in terms of, who we're trying to bring into the team, how we're trying to move forward as a football club. And so for us to play some of the best football I think we've seen in a good few years and to be completely safe, I think I'm pretty happy with that. I think, if you'd said to me 13th at the start of the season, I would have been pretty happy with that. How do you feel about it?
So, to be honest, along those same lines, I think it's been managed expectation. We've had a massive overhaul of the squad. We lost some big players at the start of the season. I mean, Freeman was our top scorer last year with 7 goals. He was so influential for us. And as well, Luongo, our player of the season, who won it that year, he was a big loss. I think he was probably one of our best midfielders at the time behind Freeman. Furlong, another solid starter. Bidwell, Scholek, some big names really that were solid starters throughout that team had departed. And to see 15 players come in for 50k, I was pretty scared, to say the least. But to not only play the way we have this season, but to, like you say, be safe in 13th, moving from 19th last year, and see some really young players flourish, which I'm sure we'll touch upon in a second. But it's been a joy to watch this year. And yeah, okay, it's maybe finished on a bit of a duller note than we'd have liked after the restart, but it's QPR at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah, do you know, I think kind of in the moment of that, I think it's understandable. Sorry, to go. We played Barnsley, Middlesbrough, Luton. Sheffield Wednesday didn't have a lot to play for. Charlton. We had looking back on it, we actually had a really lovely run that could have got us to somewhere pretty special. And I think, based on financial things and actually smart, I think what I'm realising, because a lot of people are getting excited about Brentford these days. The thing you got to remember with Brentford is, time and again, I think fans have been a little bit frustrated at how sensible the club has been in terms of letting people go or selling players. The amount of times they've been kind of close and needed to add a few instead of lose a couple of their top dudes. Be it Tarkowski, Gray, Jota, Harley Dean, Malpai. That's weirdly, I think there's something in the fact that Grant Hall went, which we didn't want. We didn't, I would have liked to have him in that run in. He's obviously a leader. And if you look at our points per game, he's right at the top of that. Also, Pugh as well, I don't think Pugh really did it for us, to be honest. But, those experienced players kind of leaving. And then even someone like Jack Clark, who's supposedly a £10 million player, I don't think we really saw it. But a lot of people would have gone, why is he not playing? But you could understand why he wasn't playing, because we'd be developing someone else's asset that we're probably never going to see again. Whereas Shadipo or those other guys who maybe they are good enough, maybe they're not good enough, at least we can kind of give them some games, which helps us sell the products that we own. So these are all sensible decisions that I think the club has made. And going back to the entertaining football, it's been amazing to watch at times.
It has. Just going on back to this is the thing. It's obviously the season's ended now, and you kind of focus on the last couple of games. And there's been some very poor performances since the restart. But just going back to that opening day against Stoke, I mean, some of the football and that goal that Eze scored was just phenomenal. Completely caught us all off guard. And like I say, it's sometimes with QPR, you can't expect us to win every game, and especially not after the transfer window we had with such a big overhaul. And it's I can stomach QPR losing when we go out there. We fight. We try to play nice football, but it's under McLaren when it was, we lose in such bad fashion. There was, lack of fight, and it's like it's different. If you understand, like losing under Warburton this season has been much less frustrating under McLaren. If you kind of get the transition I'm saying, but and as well, I think when I was doing this, I noted down us. We've been so much better on the road this year, which is quite interesting. But we've only actually got 2 more wins than we did last year on the road, which actually kind of surprised me. But I think kind of surprised me there. But I think it's some of the performances we've made, I think have been a lot better away from home. I think sometimes last season, we kind of set up very defensively. We go one up top and kind of not be too optimistic. But I think sometimes, we've gone behind, like the Preston game, prime example, down to 10 men, 1-0 down, and won that one 3-1. I think there's just so much more positivity around the club of Warburton. What have you made of kind of the away form, the kind of change in that?
Yeah, I mean, that really does surprise me, that stat, that it is only 2 more victories. I think the big thing is like you say, when you're watching a game, you need things to hang on to. And I think with McLaren, with Holloway, anyone who knows me knows I'm a big Holloway fan.
I love Holloway.
I feel like he was still hard done by.
Yeah, he was.
But it was sort of smash and grab football. It was about, it was in his own image a little bit. And then McLaren came in, and even the great run that we went on, it was based around being hard to beat. We didn't really have the ball. If I remember, I might have even done a video on it about Villa. We beat Villa 1-0. And yes, it was great because you got the victory, so you're happy about that. But actually, and I said it when he came through the doors, as soon as it goes wrong, people are going to turn on him quite quickly, because we don't really, he's a bit wet, isn't he? And I think just generally the football, he kind of gave up on this idea of passing it about quite quickly because it was such a bad start. So it shows how hard it is to play quality football. And again, I think generally most games we've played, we've dominated the ball. We've dominated the proceedings, and it's been a case of we're trying to beat you, and you're trying to hang in there and get a goal on the break. And I think the frustration that comes with that is there's things like, say, Lumley making stupid mistakes at the back, or Barbe making a silly pass. That kind of comes with the territory of playing as open as we do. But overall, I'll be amazed if you could find any QPR fans who've had a season ticket or watched a lot of games this season and have not enjoyed what they've been seeing. Some of the football's been beautiful.
Yeah, it has. Like you just touched on there, we've been offensively outstanding this year. Obviously, fifth highest scorers in the league with 67 goals compared to 53, ranking 16th in the season last year. And some of the players that I think some great business: Hugo, Wells, Samuel, Eze, and Chair. I think they've just been an absolute pleasure to watch this year. Maybe Hugo a little bit more frustrating at times, but he's still bagged a fair few, to be fair to him. But so it's been so exciting. Knocking 6 past Cardiff on Boxing Day was just seeing those players flourish has been such a joy. Same about defensively, on the other end of the pitch, but we've got by this year. We've been so good going forward that we've been able to afford to ship so many goals in. But it's just that shame that we couldn't tighten up. And if we did tighten up at the back, then who knows what could have happened this season. But it's just always been a problem with QPR defensively.
Yeah, I think, and when you change the sort of the way that you play so much, it puts pressure on certain players. There was a period where we played 4 at the back, and we were just conceding so many goals, and we went to 3 at the back, and I thought we were a lot better. Leicester was playing, wasn't he, a bit more earlier in the season, and it allowed sort of people like Barbe to sort of be Barbe. Like, Barbe is a good player in that kind of system, but he's ultimately not actually that good a defender. But his ability to sort of play a crossfield ball, which is part of kind of how we want to play, or how Warburton wants to play, in terms of keeping the ball, getting the ball wide, so you've got areas in between. For we basically played 2 number 10s for the bulk of the season, be it Chair and Eze, or Naki Wells and Eze at times. When Wells was kind of confident enough to sort of drop back and get on the ball. That it's just kind of, it's one of those. I think it's, as the season progresses, there's games where there was, I think the best team that we had probably was a back 4, but it was with Ball and Cameron in that side as well, just to give you that kind of a bit more sort of solidity. Because individually, there's a few that you were a little bit frustrating. Hugo's a great example of that. Barbe at times a little bit exasperating because he just kept diving in, certainly at the start of the season. But when I look at our best team, I think, say, Rangel is just a very lovely, intelligent player, regardless of his age. Grant Hall was a decent centre-back. Manning's been a bit of a revelation for me at left-back, considering I don't think he wants to play there, or didn't want to play there. But that's probably his best. That's going to be his best position moving forward. But I mean, you go from 1 to 11, or 1 from whatever it is. I don't think anyone's really had a bad season overall. I mean, maybe Lumley. Maybe Lumley's the one. I don't know.
It's some of the signings that we just touched upon those now that he's brought in with. I know it's very well precedented, the 50K, but it's not only the signings. I mean, Don Ball, a fantastic example of one that none of us really expected to turn out so great. And then even like Masterson on a free, Amos on loan, I think he actually came really good towards the end of the season. A couple of good performances that I'd probably take him back now. Barbe again was a great free transfer. Wells and Hugo on loan were great deals. But it's not so much just those transfers, it's what he's done to the squad and the young players that has just completely transformed them. Like you touched upon then, he's seen Manning, and Manning was kind of out of favour at the end of the season with McLaren. He went on loan at, I think it was the last season of the year.
Rotherham.
And he's completely transformed him, found him a new position, and we're really, he's been phenomenal this year. He's been, one of the first names on the team sheet. But it's not only that; it's what he did with Samuel. I mean, Samuel didn't really show an awful lot under McLaren, and what Samuel's done this year has been phenomenal. Eze as well. What do I need to say about Eze? I mean, that's it really. But as well as players like Wells. I mean, Wells scored 7 goals last year.
I honestly, we would have been in the playoffs if we kept hold of Wells.
Oh, I know.
We would have.
Yeah.
We would have, because we was completely toothless by the end of it, and somehow we're still scoring 4 goals against Millwall when we've got.
Yeah.
Who was it? Was it Brighton? Was it Brighton Chair up front at the end of it?
I know.
It's
No
madness,
striker for
really.
the last few games. Yeah.
Yeah. No, those two. You know, that almost that four, and that was when Bright wasn't always getting in the team at times
Yeah.
when that was the situation, because you had Chair, Eze, Wells, and Hugo, and it was great. It was great football. Like, to go back onto the sort of the youth influx that we've got at QPR as well. Is, you know, I've watched QPR for a long time now, and for a long time it was Richard Langley was our like last sort of graduate who'd come through. That was in 1996. So to have as many players, even like Faisal Datash, who's come in the last few weeks, Shadipo, they're kind of still sticking with. I know he's had problems with his injuries. Kai's come in, who's starting to convince me that he could play Championship football. Like, these are all players that are being blooded, and I think we've now got a bit of an identity that we can be really excited about, and a team that this is now becoming a club that's not known for wasting money. It's actually known for uncovering gems, and also uncovering players that are a little bit unwanted, young but unwanted, if you know what I mean, at bigger clubs, bringing them in and giving them a chance to thrive. And that will lead to more of those kind of players. And also the kind of giving people like Chair a chance, giving people like, you know, I guess a lot of these guys, that's the one thing to remember maybe, is a lot of these guys have been at the sort of bigger clubs, I guess, and then come to us. But that's smart. That's utilising something, but then developing them as well. Like Bright, I think Bright was taken out of the team for a little bit because I think it was Ramsey or Ferdinand, someone was suggesting that his sort of education of how to kind of use the ball, keep the ball, wasn't at the level that they wanted it to be. And the same with Dominic Ball, I think. I think Dominic Ball, they might have sort of took out and put in. And his awareness and comfort on the ball, both of them now, is at a completely different level to what it was at the start of the season. Bright, say Samuel went from kind of, I'm going to stay out wide, I'm going to wait for the ball, and then I'm going to sort of try and run at you, to now pin it. He often like pins his fullback.
His upper body shape is sublime. Yeah.
And he's going to go, right, I'm going to have the ball here, and I know from standing start, I'm going to turn you because I'm strong up here with my shoulders, and then I'm going to be quicker than you after that. And so it's understanding your strengths. And I think that's you can see the coaching is there. And I think that's something to be really excited about when we have a season where we get a mix of the right kind of youngsters and the right kind of loan signings that stick around for the whole season.
Yeah, I think it's as well. It's McLaren kind of didn't utilise some of the best assets in the squad, and I think that's what Warburton has really done this year, and we're obviously really reaping the benefits of that. But what is it you think that I'm guessing you're Warburton in for next season? I'm hoping so anyway, but can't believe some of the people on Twitter that putting out is absolute nonsense.
It's moronic.
What do you think has been sort of the catalyst in Warburton that's kind of really made the difference this year?
I think he's just a very smart guy. I really love, you know, all football fans take a lot from the post-match interviews or whatever the interviews are. And, you know, through the years, you could see that passion from Holloway, but you could see it was maybe too much sometimes. Redknapp, you can see he was just saying whatever was what he felt like coming out of his mouth, which was necessary for that moment in time. Similar thing with Warnock. McLaren, you felt like he was just a little bit afraid a lot of the time. Warburton knows who he is, and he knows what he feels like. You feel like he's running it as a business, you know. And there's a lot of unemotive language instead of kind of just like there's a lot of easy outs for him to go. Yeah, we were great, because basically, you know, the QPR guys will try and focus on the positives if they can do. That's the whole point. It's worth doing that. But he will go, well, no, you know, look, he needs to understand that, and it's always very, very level. And that will allow you to, especially when you're playing open football, that will allow you to hang in there when it's not going well, as well as stay on it when it is going well. I mean, that's the only thing that you could say with Warburton. There is no plan B. We knew that with him walking in. Yeah. And there will be elements of frustration with that at times. But I think you've kind of just got to go with that with this team and understand that, we might go on a run where we, lose a few games. And I think we're going to get onto it, aren't we, in terms of the players that are going to stay and are going to go. Again, this will be a frustrating process for QPR fans.
Yeah, it will.
Much like Brentford, much like these other guys, where once they get good enough, this is the QPR way, by the way. Like, like way back when, all those great years in the Premier League, if they got good enough, they got taken by bigger clubs.
Yeah,
it's just a fact, like Impey, Sinton, Ferdinand, like all of these guys. Once you get Freeman, like the list goes on and on. We are to a point of selling clubs, so you need to have the next guy ready. But that will always be frustrating because you'll go, if we just had kept hold of Eze, if we just kept hold of these guys.
Yeah.
But financially, we're not in that position right now. We're not in that position right now. So we just need to, I like the process that we've got in place. We just need to kind of stick with it. And so people like Jeff Thomas coming in. Is it Jeff Thomas? It was Jeff Thomas.
George Thomas, I think.
George Thomas, sorry.
Right.
Someone like George Thomas coming in, I like it because he's got football league experience. He's played in games that matter, and he's good enough that Leicester City wanted to sort of spend a bit of money on him. So it's those kind of players that we're going to have to keep doing. And you almost need to get lucky one year. Yeah. It click, get up, and then we almost wash away the sins of 6-7 years ago, whatever it was, and then we're back to a level where we've actually got a bit of cash again. That's what we've got to try and do. I like the way we're headed, to be honest.
Yeah, I was spot on. We'll touch on that just a second. Just wanted to go back for what you were saying about McLaren, and like he hasn't got a plan B. His plan B is to, like you say, to do plan A better. But what's kind of has been sort of, like you say, when you ride through those moments where we've been on bad spells this season, but it's where he has got the faith in his system, and he needs that to be. The players need to have the confidence in that system because it is a risky system. Playing out from the back in the way we do with some of the players we have, there is a lot of element of risk to it. But that's kind of the difference between McLaren, because McLaren, he was so nervous, and he just didn't have the faith where he just scrapped it after 4 games. I remember, after obviously we had some bad results that I don't really want to touch upon because that's some bad, to name a few. But it's the way how we went from playing that style of football, and then the next game it was we get the ball in deep in the pitch and we just boot it forward, and it was just so frustrating to watch. But Warburton obviously has this faith in this system, and I think it's building up this philosophy. It's going to take time. We've got to try and keep hold of some of the key players, which I know you've said we are a selling club, and some of the key assets like Eze and Samuel, I don't think will be there next season. But it's kind of Ball, Cameron. Again, I don't think Rangel will be it, but it's the leaders in that squad that can really help the new ones coming in. Whereas last season we were starting on a fresh canvas. They're players that none of the players have played under his system. So when there's new ones coming in now, it's not a whole system revamp. It's kind of
absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's it. You're a year, like you say, with that risky football. That's risky football with players they would have gone. I think some of these guys can do it. I think some of these guys can't. We're going to bring on all these guys, and we're going to see if it works. And understandably, like some things will work, some players will work, some players will develop and get better, and some players might not be up to it. And so that's not a problem either. Like it's like anything, unless you try and have do it for a long period of time, you're not going to understand who's up to it or not. Like, is Lumley good enough to do it? I'm not. Before I was like, he's a cracking goalkeeper, and I think he is a cracking goalkeeper. Is he a cracking goalkeeper playing the football that we want to play? I'm not completely sure, to be honest. Now, as much as I like him as a guy, and he's a Rangers boy, I want him to do well. But yeah, the sort of the other thing I would say about that style of football is the McLaren style of football will not get you promoted. Like, it might keep you in the league, but it's not going to get you promoted, because there will come a point where you need to be able to beat a team, and that's the difference. That this style of football, if you can be, as frustrating as it will be at times, if you can be sort of brave enough to believe in it, it's got the capability to get you into the playoffs, and that's why it's worth sticking with this, especially if you've got youth team players who are ready to play like this. And also, it's more appetizing for loans. If you go to Spurs or Arsenal or any of these guys and go, do you want to come and play here where we're going to pass the ball about consistently, and your centre midfield is going to be on the ball 80, 90 times a game, yeah, okay, I'd rather go to you than go to Luton or whoever it might be.
Millwall,
It's just,
yeah.
or Millwall, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So there's the idea behind it all is, for the first time in a long time, is I get it, and I've been big on sort of Ferdinand and Ramsey and going like, what is the plan here? But the amount of youth players that we're bringing in now is massive for us, and it's exciting, and we're moving in the right direction. I just think there might be a few backward steps as well as hopefully moving forward.
Yeah, sadly that's the position we're in at the moment. But we'll touch upon the squad in just a second. But just rounding off this season, so you touched on it before. So you were very adamant that you did not think we had a chance at the playoffs then when the season was postponed.
No, of course not. Like, with the amount of changes that you made, the lack of chemistry that you would expect us to have, like that first game was a joke. Like, there's absolutely no reason why we should be playing football like that. I think it was one of those where it's almost like when it's new and fresh. I think it was they almost sort of were so excited by it. They loved it, and it was a bit of a shock for teams. And then teams maybe kind of found us out a little bit, and that's where a few of the wobbles have come throughout the season. But no, yeah, absolutely not. Especially with the budgets that you've got in this division.
Yeah,
like, that's the only thing I was hoping for, which I might have been a bit naive with. I was hoping that I'd imagined our wage budget was quite low. And so if there was any way of keeping a hold of these guys and going, look, coronavirus is all a bit of a nightmare. Just stay with us for another year and, keep this team together. I think it's a team that, with a couple of reinforcements, you can kind of start to go, well, no, like, I wasn't sure if Manning was a left back. He's good. He's a good left back. Dominic Ball, I'm not sure if he was a good centre. No, he is. I know he's a good. Like, it's like that. So with that, but going back to last year, we didn't know Chair was good enough. We didn't know Ball was going to be involved whatsoever. Barbe was a new signing. We didn't really have a left back, and it became Manning. We didn't. I guess we brought Hugh. We actually, a few of those we brought quite late, didn't we, as well?
Yeah.
So I didn't expect us to do as well as we did do for periods of it. And ultimately, losing someone like Nike Wells, I didn't realise at the time how useful he was to us. But the playoffs went, I think, a little bit once he was gone.
Went there, yeah. What did you make about QPR making such a strong stance against the resumption date of the season? Do you think that they maybe saw this coming, like the poor end, or it was quite normal?
I mean, maybe. I mean, I guess there's certain players that we had to let go. I guess maybe also our reliance on our youth squad was interesting. I also think anyone's stance on, and I'm guessing here obviously, but anyone's stance on this was generally dependent on where they were in the league.
Yeah.
So a team like us, which we were slap bang in the middle, and look, if we'd got in the playoffs, then so be it. But more likely than not, it was not going to be the case. I think they were just like, let's just because I guess that the other thing is, I think League One, League Two, the idea was that it would cost $400,000 to finish the season, but from each club. So that's a lot of money. So if we're slap bang in the middle of the table, if we don't have to spend $400,000 just to play the rest of the games, I think that was probably part of it as well. I would imagine most people's. It's a bit like obviously when I do sort of football stuff, often you'll get a viewpoint from someone, and we'll go, "Who did you support?" Liverpool, right?
Yeah.
Or like whoever it might, because it is based around that. Because we are all a little bit biased. So I would imagine it would have served QPR better financially if the season had been written off. So that's probably part of it.
Yeah, as well. Hull were one of the most vocal clubs about the season, didn't want it resuming, and look how it went for them. But as well, I just want to touch upon it then. I think you touched upon it a second ago, but the squad that we had for the last couple of games, the squad depth was so abysmal. Losing a couple of those players, and it just we couldn't even field a full bench for half of the game since it. So it was like, what can you kind of expect? Because I think that I heard, I'm not sure if it's 100% true, but the under-23s they were furloughed, so they were not actually, all of them, able to actually return to training, so they weren't able to be included in the squad. So yeah, it was just such a weird end to the season. But
Yeah, I think long term, like people like Faisal, who I thought was quite good in some of the games that he played.
yeah, I
You can
think
understand why we're giving him an opportunity in
yeah.
games. I actually would have liked to see him start one or two, to
Oh
be
yeah,
honest, because I think
I agree. Yeah,
by that point, we were safe, and we know Dominic Ball's a good player, or even
Mm.
putting him alongside Dominic Ball would have been quite nice. But we went to that West Brom game, got a draw with a
yeah,
team that, and there's a Ramakilde. I was like, I honestly was doing a watch along on my channel. I was like, who's this dude? I've never seen this guy before.
yeah,
But as bad as that is, it's some of those youth players having to kind of step up and do a little bit more. And we've learned more about Kaiko. We've learned a little bit more about Masterson, and they've got that sort of game experience, which is all good for them in the
yeah,
long run. So again, I think often you've got to kind of look in the microcosm of a game. We're desperate to win every single game, and we'll always be frustrated.
Mm.
But if you look at the squad of those last few games, I think there are some positives there.
yeah, definitely. So just before we touch on the squad, if you had to grade this season in terms of A, B, C, D, or what would be your take on it?
Tier list is if you will.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
would. How would I grade this? So sorry, like a school mark,
yeah. Like I feel like A, yeah,
yeah.
A star, A, B, C, D.
I think it's a solid B. I
Yeah,
think it's like
yeah,
it's. I think Warburton would go, "Am I not getting a B plus here?" I'd go, "No, you're not getting a B plus. You're going to get a B." But because I want to dream a little bit, want to dream bigger, want to keep moving
yeah,
forward. I think he almost opened our eyes a bit too much because we're like,
yeah,
we play good football, we dominate most of the teams that we play, and then a lot of the goals. I'd love to know how many goals were from errors. And if you cut out a lot of those errors,
yeah.
then who knows where we would be. But yeah, I think I would go with a B, maybe a B plus if I'm being
Yeah,
really generous. What about you?
yeah. I think as well, it's like I touched on at the start. I think it's manage expectations. I think some people get so caught up that went on a good run, and there were at points we were 6 points off the playoffs, and we had Hugo and Wells and Eze. They were scoring goals all the time, but it was our defensive capabilities has never been able to support a team that high up in the table. Like if you look at the table for goals conceded, and the teams near us are nowhere near the top of the table. It was never going to be
Yeah,
viable. The goals we shipped is just ridiculous, but
yeah,
it's only
that's
because we scored an abnormal amount. But yeah, I think a B, maybe a B plus. I think with the cards he's been dealt, I think he's done phenomenally well. And there's nobody else that I'd want to be managing us right now, because people calling for Warburton's head, I just tell me who we can get right now in this position that wants to come to
mad.
QPR that's going to do anything
So
like the job he's doing. So
yeah,
yeah,
because the things that are going to matter to us are his contacts book or
yeah,
our contacts book, and which is good. Ramsey, so well respected in the game. Same with Ferdinand, good contacts at Fulham. At Spurs and different London teams. And then Warburton, people forget, is him with the sort of Nike Academy
yeah,
and the contacts that you can get from that. There's a lot of people that you can pick up the phone to and bring in, and a lot of good markets that he will be aware of. Even if with Brentford, it would be say like the Danish market and stuff like that, which we've not got anywhere near it. But Scotland as well, where we picked up a couple of players.
yeah,
Are they good or not? I'm still not totally sure. Quite like Liam
yeah,
Kelly,
yeah,
but yeah, there's no one's coming in and playing better football who knows more people. Like it's just doesn't. It's just not the case. And also, I think he'll stick around. I think
yeah.
that's the thing.
It's a bit of a
Whilst we're
project.
kind of moving in a direction, yeah, I think it is a bit of a project where he can be trusted. He also likes to work with a small squad, which is like, again, music to Lee Hughes' ears.
Yeah,
So I think you're. I've got to say, I think you're being really stupid if you think Warburton is not the right man right now.
yeah, ridiculous.
So that's a wrap for the first part of the season review. The second part will be out very shortly, where we're going to be analysing the full squad and highlighting some areas that we think need improving, some that maybe don't need so much improvement, going through which players we think are a part of Warburton's plans for next season, and areas, like I say, that need surgery and revamping for the 2021 season. So thank you for sticking around. Massive thanks to James again. Keep an eye out for part 2, and I'll see you in the next one.